So, what's up people and welcome to the Chapter 87 discussion of Kaiju number 8 or Kaiju 8号. So, Chapter 87 came out a while ago, and as always I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so Chapter 87 was one of these unusual chapters. It was one of those chapters that made me think about what was going on, not really in terms of the plot, but how it was being executed here. If you remember, there was a lot of battles going on, and the way this got resolved was like making me think, huh? And then later on, it was like, oh, okay, after I thought about it a bit. And then over a while, I started thinking, but why, sort of deal. And then I was thinking about it and going, yeah, okay, maybe that's okay. But it was one of those situations where I wasn't quite sure if I thought I liked the way the story was bringing this out. But as I thought about it, I was like, okay, maybe this is okay. Now, if you recall, in the last few chapters, this was revolving around a battle between Narumi and monster number 11. And over this battle, we find out that Narumi was having a major disadvantage because Monster 11 had the memories of Isao Shinomiya, Commander Narumi's mentor. And because of that, no matter what move he used, Monster number 11 having that memory was able to counter effectively. But what happened in Chapter 86 was that at the very end of the chapter, somehow Narumi was mysteriously able to hit monster number 11 and cut off one of his appendages. And so what did happen? Well, we didn't know, and Chapter 87 gives us the explanation, and that's where my sort of situation came in. You see, what I expected was, since monster number 11 had all of Commander Shinomiya's memories, and those were memories of Commander Narumi's past battles, during this training arc, I thought that he would get additional moves that Commander Shinomiya's memories did not have, and that will be the thing that will move this fight forward. But what we find in Chapter 87 is right from the very beginning, we see that something has changed in Commander Narumi, and we get a full color presentation of his eyes changing to green. So what happens? We're not really sure. Because in the very beginning of this chapter, once again, we get a repeat of what was discussed in Chapter 86. That throughout the training with Commander Isao Shinomiya, Commander Narumi never was able to defeat him. We already knew that in Chapter 86, but this was once again discussed in Chapter 87. What we find new here is that throughout his career, he was trying to show how much he has improved by defeating so many monsters in the field. But Commander Shinomiya was never truly impressed. And this has left Commander Narumi with an empty shell because Commander Shinomiya is no longer here to reach his goals of impressing him. And so now we try to find out what has happened, and during that training arc, something changed in Narumi. And what we find out is that now, for some reason, he is able to effectively attack monster number 11. And what does that eyes turning to green mean? Well, what we find out is that he has somehow been able to tap into monster number 1's extremely latent powers that I guess were dormant inside the suit, but he was never able to reach. And so all of a sudden, miraculously, this power comes up. And what is this power? Well, it turns out that he is now truly able to see the future. Up till now, monster number 1's power was pretty well explained. It would scan the signals of the nervous system of the enemy, and using the impulses, predict its move. And so by doing so, it would be able to see what the enemy would do and be able to effectively counter it, basically seeing the future moves of the enemy. But with monster number 11, if you recall, because it had water powers, it will use the water to shield that signal and prevent him from seeing the future. But now, it seems that this latent power can measure everything. the signals from the air and the signals from everywhere else and use that to really see the future. So unlike being able to see the future of just the enemy from its signals from the nervous system, it's basically being able to see the future of everything from being able to get the signals from everything around it, which made me go, what? How does that really work? And the answer is, it really is a difficult understanding of how that can actually predict the future. With the nervous system, it made a little bit of sense because it takes time for the signals to go from the brain to the body. And so if monster number 1's powers was able to read it before the body can move, then you could see the future. But how does being able to read the atoms around in the air and the light coming from the sky and all that to be able to truly predict the future of everything in front? That was really hard to be explained. But as I thought about it, I was like, okay, I can't explain it from that explanation at all. But maybe it doesn't matter because this is manga, right? I mean, if you think about it, how does Goku do his Kamehameha if he trains enough to get his spirit up? What does that mean? If your spirit is higher, all of a sudden this beam of energy comes out from the palm of your hands? Why? Right? It doesn't really bring any sense, with the exception of maybe you could physically manifest that spirit energy into physical energy. But it's really not explained at all. But nobody cares, right? Because it's pretty cool. And so maybe here, because it's manga, you get some explanations of something that makes, very little sense of what's going on. But it doesn't really matter because it's just really to move the plot along. And the next thing that made me go, huh? In the beginning was this sudden appearance of this special power. Okay. So I could understand if the training arc gave Narumi the ability to get additional special moves and that Commander Shinomiya never saw, and because of that, that could outwit the battle skills of monster number 11. But in this case, once again, how did this suddenly come out, What did he do to suddenly manifest it? Did it just conveniently come out just because he needed it now? And I thought about it and I said, okay, well, maybe that's okay because, again, this was a training arc. There was no reason that he had to train physically. He may have trained psychologically through meditation and various mental training. He was able to finally tap into the latent powers of monster number 1. And since he knew that maybe if he could awaken those powers, he could overcome the obstacles that Commander Shinomiya's capabilities had, he did mental training during the training arc. So, okay, that makes a little bit of sense, and I'll just take it as it is. But the final thing then is, why did it take so long for him to bring it out? Why didn't he just bring this out and defeat monster number 11? And that explanation may come from this panel, where the headquarters is saying that Commander Narumi's efficiency and mental range has gone so high that they're having a hard time measuring it. And if it remains that high, it could go into dangerous levels that can potentially physically hurt Commander Narumi. And so he has a limited amount of time to be able to use it. And so maybe this is his trump card. He does not want to bring this out unless it's absolutely necessary. And maybe he originally thought that he could defeat monster number 11 without using this until monster number 11 told him that he had Commander Shinomiya's memories, and that made Commander Narumi realize that this was a no-win situation unless he brought out his trump card. So all of this makes sense. But in the beginning, I was like, huh? What's this power? Why did it all of a sudden come out? And why did it all of a sudden come out now after so long? And so, I think I could take the explanations as kind of flimsy as they are. And again, this isn't a manga that really goes into a tremendous amount of scientific knowledge and explanation. There are other mangas like Battle Angel Alita that does a better job. But this isn't that type of manga. This is a feel-good manga that takes the main character, Kafka, and the characters around him and the enjoyment comes from their overcoming of the obstacles. So if that's the case, I think this chapter did its job, and it was very interesting to watch, and it will be interesting to see how Commander Narumi moves forward with this, but for the moment, he has the upper hand, and using that, you could see at the end of the chapter that he is going to take down monster number 11. So I think we are coming to the final part of his battle, and we'll probably move to Vice Commander Hoshina. Now, I know a lot of people are getting a little bit impatient, waiting for Kafka's turn. But knowing how Matsumoto Naoya is writing this story, you kind of have to expect that it's going to be the very last part of this battle because his is the climactic moment. So if that's the case, if the only two battles left are Vice Commander Hoshina and Kafka, then my feeling is Vice Commander Hoshina will come out first. But we'll find out pretty quickly once Chapter 88 comes out, and once it comes out, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the Chapter 87 discussion of Kaiju 8 or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Any comments will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading, and as always, Jan Nice to everyone.